Welcome to another episode, Pound for Pound Box Report, episode 199, almost at 200, episode 199. I'm your host, Michael. Joining me this week, I'm Gail from Communities Digital News, Scorsese, Jacob from Jab Hook. What's going on, ladies and gents?
Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Good. For those who are new to Pound for Pound Box Report, as I begin this with every show, for those who are new, Pound for Pound Box Report live YouTube show, podcast and blog discussing all things boxing. The motto is when boxing is good, we will talk about it. When it's bad, we will talk about it. Bottom line is, if it concerns the sweet science, we will talk about it. If you want to find out all information regarding Pound for Pound Box Report, blog page is the place to go to, p4pboxreport.wordpress.com. That's the link. Check the right of the page. You can find links to the pages and channels on G+, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, as well as links to where to listen to the show on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher Radio, Player FM for the folks over in the UK, as well as Mixcloud. Let's get the show going with a bit of some breaking news that took place overnight. Want to give a shout out to Scorsese. He shared the news with us in a conversation DM on Twitter regarding the fight that's happening later tonight or tomorrow, depends on what part of the country you're from, between Luis Nery, Shinsuke Yamanaka, the rematch that's taking place in Japan. Well, the weigh-in took place overnight here on the East Coast and West Coast times, and to the surprise of many, Luis Nery, he missed weight. Not only did he miss weight, he missed weight badly, scaling 5 pounds over at the first weigh-in, 123 pounds. Second attempt 2 hours later, he only got down to 121. Subsequently, he was stripped of his WBC bantamweight title. The fight is going on anyway, from what I understand, as of the recording of this, live recording of this. But I want some quick reaction here, starting with you first, Gail, ladies first, and then the rest of the fellas can follow up. Bad professionalism, that's putting it lightly. And just the process. If you saw not just the photo, but the video clips of the weigh-in, it was not good for Luis Nery. Not good at all.
It was not good. Let's remember, boxers are professional athletes. Professional. That means boxing is their job. And a lot of us go to jobs every day. And we're expected to do certain things in our jobs. There's an expectation of performance in our jobs, whatever they are. You're a professional boxer. One of the key expectations is when you sign to take on a fight, you will be prepared for that fight. You will make that fight because there are a lot of people counting on you, not just your opponent, but everybody who's employed to help make that fight occur. All of the people in the venue, all of your team, all of the other folks who contribute in the way of training and facilities, and the folks that sell tickets, and everyone counting essentially on making a living because of you. That's a lot of responsibility. So you need to take it seriously. And one of the things you got to do as part of your job is make weight. You make weight. Now, everybody once in a while blows over the scale a half pound, a few ounces, a pound. It happens, Sometimes it's so damn close, you just strip it all off, you get back on the scale, you're okay. Your skivvies are going to weigh 6, 7, 8 ounces, you're good. When you are supposed to hit 118 and you blow through it by 5 pounds, this is not a surprise. Luis Nery had to have known days before that there was no way in hell he was going to make weight. And that's when some kind of discussion as a professional needed to occur, at least behind the scenes, to say, listen, Houston, we got a problem. Tokyo, we got a problem. And figure out, what's going to happen, not just pull the surprise on the scale, come in and look as bad as he did. How many more things can we say about this? I mean, I'm sure we're going to have a long, fruitful discussion about this. But I really think past him to all of the people he let down, including people who paid their hard-earned money, who worked hard for that at their jobs and did their jobs to earn their pay, to spend it on a ticket to go see that card, right? And now they're looking at him, and even if the fight happens, happens. They look at Nery and think, the guy crawled off the scale. He looked that calf dead, and we're supposed to go see him fight in 72 hours, 48 hours? You got to be kidding. It's reprehensible. And y'all know how I feel about the man who will not be named, who has pulled this shit more than once. For me, it's unforgivable when you do it to that extreme. And I'm going to need to just mute myself because I just don't need more aggravation. I'm going to let you gentlemen carry on from here and listen in. Y'all know who I'm talking about.
I see Daniel from the Inscriber has joined us, and I'm just going to open it up to the fellas here to follow up on Gail's response. Nery, 5 pounds over first attempt, 3 pounds over the second attempt. And it, like I said, if you watch the actual video in the pictures, we'll preview the fight and talk about it later on during our preview segment, but I want to focus on the weigh-in right now. As I said, it was bad. It was all bad, and whoever wants to comment, but he looked completely dead after his failed second attempt. So for anybody who wants to jump in, please do. Unmute your mics, folks.
It was likely a mistake for him to take that interim fight. I know he wanted to do a fight, like a homecoming fight in Mexico, but that fight was above the weight limit, so the title wasn't on the line, and that hurt him. Because it cost him, okay, you're fighting this little mini fight, and now you got to start another camp. At a certain point, it was one of the reasons why, as much as we like to see fighters try to fight like 4 or 5 times a year, there's a reason why as they get older, that becomes less frequent. Your body starts to not take it. And Nery's not an old man by any stretch of the imagination. He's a young kid. But I do think probably that fight did him a lot more harm than they could because, yeah, that had flashbacks of Skeletor Rios coming in. And at least Rios attempted to make the weight, even to the last day, but it's a bad look all around. I'm like, this is technically your first defense of the title. You're getting a rematch because even though you knocked the guy down, the drug test puts a cloud over everything, and now you do this. Okay, all the reports we know that he's been having trouble making the weight, and he was looking to move up to 122 sooner or later. But at least the film, at least try at least once. But I'll probably chalk it up to he took a homecoming fight too soon, and then just pretty much tried to restart a camp when your body, and maybe the body didn't want to do that too much.
Jacob Scorsese, your thoughts on what went down overnight with Nery and his failed weigh-in?
I mean, I'm with Gail on this. I mean, it was part of our my pet peeve. My biggest pet peeve is fighters not making weight. And I thought an interesting thing in an article I'm reading here is that they're talking about the fights going on. They're talking about each of the different people, and it's just like, you already had, the, like Daniel mentioned, the cloud over your head. And he says, I'm better prepared with more motivation now. You're not prepared. You didn't make weight. And even if he does beat Yamanaka, it's kind of still he's not going to have the belt. And it's kind of like, well, you came in over, you're going to be a heavier guy. And I don't know, it to me, I mean, Yamanaka took the fight, props to him. But to me, it's a lose for Nery. It's a really bad look for him. I don't know why these guys sign fights when, they if they think that they can't make it. And Gail hit on a perfect point. It's not like they just signed the fight last night. They have weeks and weeks to prepare for this. And your team knows whether you're gaining weight, you're losing weight, whether you're on the mark. That's why I like when some of the sanctioning bodies do that, like 30-day weigh-in, or they have certain times when they weigh in to see, hey, do we have a situation here, or so that we can make other plans, or figure something out, because like she said earlier, a lot of people put their the livelihood on the line with their work, and a lot of people are counting on them. So hats off to Yamanaka for letting the fight go on. But I know we'll talk about the fight itself, but it's really disappointing.
According to Asian boxing, um, Nery's dietitian is taking responsibility uh, for the fiasco that took place in the weigh-in. For me, Scorsese, it can take all the he can take responsibility, but still, that's no excuse when you come in this much overweight. Your thoughts?
Yeah, he's a whole division over, and I agree with Gail and Jacob said. I really wasn't thinking about it in that way because it's not my money. But then when they say that, there's a lot of shit riding, and I agree with the point about the dietitian. I don't care what the excuse is. I care what the numbers are. Like you knew about your fight, you missed your you failed a drug test already. There's gonna be speculation that maybe you didn't take some of the things you were taking to get down and weight the first, a time or two ago. Who knows? But for me, I mean, Yamanaka took the fight, and he is fighting a dead man. So this has some telling on his career. If he don't get this dude out of here and treat him like a dead man, people might look at him, and even though Nery's the fuck up here, Yamanaka at the end of the fight could be in question and say, "Wow, he handed you the W." The game plan should switch. If Yamanaka was planning to land something upstairs, or the hook, and then follow with the straight, knock a guard down, follow with the straight, forget all that. Put your damn lead hand in his stomach until he can't take no more. That's the plan. Pacquiao versus Cotto. Lead hand in the stomach all night long. I just feel like there's no need for Yamanaka to leave out this fight with an L. And I think the betting odds just turned to like, I think I saw this. You can't get it on Bovada and nothing like that, but I think it went to like 23-1 today after all this stuff. So Yamanaka got some work to put in. This your chance. This your revenge.
Indeed, indeed. Let's get back to the regular docket, what we were going to talk about earlier. I just had to start the show with that breaking news because it took us all by surprise. The fact that he came in so much over, and surprised to say the least. So, in the last show, well, let me begin it like this. One of the biggest things of 2017 in boxing was Superfly, which featured the junior bantamweight division specifically. Srisaket, Roman, Inoue, Cuadras. Well, over the weekend was Superfly 2. The main event of Superfly 2 was Srisaket or Rungvisai, coming off of his two victories over Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. Well, he defended the title against mandatory contender, former flyweight champion Juan Francisco Estrada. Superfly 2 took place over the weekend at Inglewood, in Inglewood at the Forum, excuse me. Terrific fight, everyone. Srisaket ended up winning by, I want to say, majority decision. But in spite of that scoring, 117, 111, 115, 113 in Srisaket's favor. The third judge had it a draw. Had it a draw, 114, 114. I'll go to you, Jacob. I believe you was at the fight. Your impressions of what went down. I felt that opinions are kind of going either way on this one. I had Srisaket winning by 2 points. A lot of folks had Estrada winning. Some felt it was a draw. Either way, one of the best fights so far in 2018. A lot of folks want to see it again. Being an observer from ringside, your thoughts on the action? Who do you feel won, and would you like to see it again?
Yeah. You know, it was a really good fight. You know, everybody that was there, you know, got their money's worth, and a pretty decent sized, you know, crowd. But I gave the edge to Rungvisai. I had picked Estrada um, to win. I thought he had the ability to win. But I think that Estrada, in my opinion, he kind of he didn't. There was some rounds like towards the, I would say, early to middle rounds where he wasn't really active. He was kind of waiting for that counter, and the activity was on Rungvisai's side, and he kind of came on later. So I had him. I had Rungvisai. I didn't really like score it. I was just kind of, you know, because I was trying to enjoy the fight. But I had him winning, you know, either by a point or your card 2 points. So I wasn't disappointed with the decision. I thought Estrada did some really good things in there. You know, he took a lot of those later rounds, in my opinion. He started landing a lot more punches. Rungvisai was missing a lot of punches. And they did easily a contender for a round of the year in the 12th round. You know, the whole crowd was up on its feet and just, you know, doing great. But I think the right man won the fight. Definitely would love to see a rematch. I think Estrada deserves at the very least that, because, you know, he put up quite a great fight, and I think he made some adjustments later in the fight that if maybe he had, you know, banked that adjustment early, you know, maybe we'd be talking about a different winner. But you know, like I said, that there's no losers here. They did the division proud. They did TV proud. You know, so I'm hoping that you know, these little guys get, you know, some more press and some more main card fights. And I've already heard rumors that they're working on Superfly 3 and 4.
I'll go to you, Gail. Jacob mentioned the adjustments that he made. Estrada. However, for me, it was the middle round that won the fights for Rungvisai. 3 through 8 specifically. I felt he dominated that portion of the fight. And Estrada just couldn't do enough in the end to combat that.
I agree. And I also thought, although the volume of punches was fairly close, that in a close fight, when one man strikes slightly harder blows, that's significant. And I do think Rungvisai connected with the harder shots throughout the fight overall. What was interesting, though, is it was an extremely partisan crowd for Estrada in the forum. Obviously, they're cheering for a Mexican fighter. And judges are swayed by that. They are. So for them to score it close, knowing that Estrada was, you know, clearly had the crowd behind him, tells me that Rungvisai did win. The crowd egging on Estrada, you know, did push the judges a little toward the middle. I certainly don't think any cards should have been wider than a round or two. It was a very close fight, and the 12th round was tremendous. I'd be very interested in seeing what round 13 would be like, and I think we'll get it, but I don't think we'll get it next. And K2 and all of the participants in this tournament series know they've got a good thing going. Sold nearly 8,000 tickets for that fight at the forum. Tremendous for the lower weight classes like that. Superb, and there's no reason not to just keep it going.
Not K2 anymore, though. This was
well, that's right. Now it's 360, the new promotion company under Tom Loeffler. So, yeah, very interesting development there, too, to see what else they branch into. But they've done a wonderful job with this. They've packaged it beautifully, and I'm so pleased to see these opportunities for the lower weight divisions. As all of us who are connoisseurs here on the show, I'm sure we all agree, it's really nice to see them get a shot.
Speak on that quickly. That thing with 360 before I go to everyone else.
Well, Tom Loeffler, who works for K2 Promotions in the United States, which is essentially the Klitschko brothers' original promotion company, has split off his own side promotion venture now and gotten into the business under his own banner. As I understand it, he's still going to work for both, but this brings some of the business under his own wing with his own talent. So we're going to have a new promoter. I think he's intending to start fairly modest, but you know, he's where the action currently is in Southern California with, you know, ties to Vegas. He's in the right place at the right time.
He's actually going to he's going to star shows at the Avalon, like once a month.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, and that's similar to the Golden Boys LA Fight Club series approach, developing your own talent, developing followings with these young guys. And it's worked for Golden Boy. They just had one of their LA Fight Club youngins headline a fight, Joseph Diaz Jr., Jojo Diaz, who put on a terrific fight. And they just announced a card later in March with another one of their young guys getting his first shot at a main event out of the LA Fight Club, which is Ryan Kingery Garcia, who's getting to headline in a main event at, I don't know if he'll be 20 years old yet, 19 or 20. That's a hell of an accomplishment.
Indeed. You might have to mute your mic, Gail, because I think the echo is coming from your end. Thank you. I'll go to you, Scorsese, and then you can follow up. Jacob mentioned the adjustments that Estrada made, and I alluded to that as well, and so did Gail. And I was mentioning how the middle rounds was where Rungvisai won the fight for me. Given those adjustments, do you think it was just a case of a little bit too little, too late for Estrada?
And it's one of the saddest cases too of that, because he was so much more naturally talented than this dude, and he found out late in the fight, I punch harder than this. Well, maybe not to other people he punches harder, but to compare to each other, I can hurt you more than you can hurt me, and I've been sitting here kind of running from you at times. I think he got to be sick right now in round 13. Round 13 through 24, I wouldn't be surprised if Estrada 9-3s it, 10-2s it. It's easy work. It's easy work. I had it a draw. I missed the first round of fight night. Then I did like everybody else. The middle rounds, he just started to look like he was punking Estrada, but it really wasn't that. It was more or less Kit Kat coming into him and Estrada having his lead foot actually on the inside in this southpaw orthodox, and he would try to throw this check left hook and get outside when when Kit Kat's already cut the distance so hard that he's getting tripped up. And to the judges, that may look like anything that touch you just hurts you. I said in my videos, it ain't Kit Kat's job to hold you up in the ring. And it ain't the judge's job to decide, where you tripped or where you hurt. At some point, well, it's their job, but at some point, you make it to, when I got to decide 7 or 8 times where you tripped or where you hurt, it make it too damn hard to do. I got to start looking at, you need to make the adjustment. And the adjustment is what Rigondeaux does, what Mayweather does. If they fight in a southpaw orthodox kind of fight, if they got the lead and they got the lead foot, you're gonna see them go to their outside leg. You're gonna see them shift to their outside or slip to their outside. And with Estrada, he needs to. I understand you want to entertain, but sometimes just make this guy reset, because he wants to fight at high volume. That's all he got for you. He's nowhere near on your level, but. You get set, you let's say you punch, you get off to the angle, and then you're like, okay, I'm set to punch again. Forget it. Don't punch again. Just move again. Move again after that, and see if he eventually drops those hands even lower than they are, and he gets tired of kind of having to box you and then keep up with your feet. Because what he wants is the outside foot all night long, and you let him have it, and he let him look like he punked him at times. And then Estrada just came back, 10, 11, 12? Well, I really think 11 and 12, and I think it was one round in the 8th he whooped him too. Man, he's levels above Kit Kat, and it just is what it is. It got to be a disappointing draw, but he did it to himself.
I'll go to you, Daniel. Do you agree with that? that the reason that Estrada did lose was because of what he didn't do? In short, do you believe, as Scorsese said, he did it to himself?
Not so much to himself. But he didn't help matters. Now, I had him winning. I had him 115, 113. I had no problem with two of the other scorecards. That 117, 111 scorecard to me was terrible. But when it came to Estrada, you can tell in the first round that he was able to use lateral movement against Rungvisai really, really well, because Rungvisai, even in the first round, was trying to land a haymaker. And Estrada sidestepped him beautifully. The problem, unfortunately, happened is, number one, the classic orthodox southpaw dilemma, because they kept tripping each other the whole fight. And what started thing happening is, it's the same thing that happened to him with Chocolatito, when he knows he can counter better, and he countered pretty well against Rungvisai, but he gets a little bit too cautious, and that let Rungvisai move with feints of his own, do things that make Estrada do the lead in the middle rounds, where he's not really comfortable doing. It took the 12th round for him to see that I could probably stand with the guy and not get knocked out completely. Like, he felt the power. I heard the commentary in the first round. He felt the power, but Estrada now knows he can take it. But at this, and we have to say this too about Rungvisai. You're seeing a puncher starting to become a boxer, because he wasn't just trying to plow through Estrada. He was doing feints. He was doing little movements to really bother Estrada, to not make him commit to just purely countering. He made him be the lead man at times. And I got to give credit to him and his team on that. At the same time, though, I think Estrada now knows if he does step on the gas a little bit, he can counter Rungvisai better. And he now knows that he can take Rungvisai's punch pretty well. So it is this point. A part of it is on himself. I get it, but I have to give credit to Rungvisai. He did things to bother Estrada, and it was enough for him to win the fight. Just tell me when the rematch is in October or September.
I agree with that. Let's talk that possible rematch. One, if it happens, when. Two, in the aftermath of this, the name that came to mind for me was Naoya Inoue, who's still technically a WBO champion down at 115, but has said he's going to move up, and negotiations are reportedly taking place for him to fight Jamie McDonald. The issue is he's moving up, but he's leaving things not settled at 115. And all I heard in my circles was folks want to see Inoue fight Rungvisai, fight Estrada. In short, he has business to take care of in that division before he moves up to 118. And folks are a little bit salty at him that he's decided to move up, given what we saw last night. So I'm just going to open up for any and everybody here the possibility of a rematch between these two happening. And where does this leave Inoue? Should he stay down there and try to fight the winner of these two cats?
It make them look smart. Like it makes them look smart. They have to rematch. So you ain't getting them in. The other champion flat out didn't want none. He wanted the top rank protection program. Especially, I'm not saying anybody signed for top ranks protected, but in per division they don't have nothing down there. So
to be clear, you're talking on Kanye's, who did Aram did turn down a fight, a unification fight with Inoue last year, as so did Cal Yafai turned down a fight with him as well. So proceed.
So yeah, it's looking like he looking like, okay, forget waiting around. I can get some fights up here. The WBA and put him as #1 contender. They ranked him #1 at 118. So Yeah, like I don't know if that's in their rules or not, but I hope they start doing that for everybody who had their title. So it makes him look smart. You know, it's only 3 pounds. He is young. These guys got to settle that shit again. And he must have knew something. Must have knew something we didn't know because they weren't good enough to decide a winner. So what's the point in waiting when you can go add more titles or whatever it is, or drop less weight? Hey, I ain't mad at him.
I hear you, but still, and I'll go to this one. You on this one, Gail? If we're talking strictly finances, where can Inoue get the most money? A fight with McDonald at 118, or fight with Rungvisai at 115?
Well, he gets the most money wherever he can fight in Japan, because he's going to make more money there in the short term. In the long run, obviously, he'd love to build an American audience. So he has to decide short-term gain, long-term goals. That's the difficult part. But Inoue is going to have to wait, because the winner of the Cuadras Arroyo fight became the WBC mandatory for Rungvisai. So either they have to pay step-aside money to Arroyo to get the rematch on right away, or Rungvisai takes on Arroyo, which I would not mind seeing at all. Arroyo earned that, and we'll talk about that. And then you go back to building up the fight with Estrada the next time around. And if this is going to be a continuing series, 2 a year, why not?
Your thoughts on this, Daniel and Jacob? Daniel, go ahead.
Okay, this is the part where it gets difficult, because I think we've noted time and time again here, Inoue's contract puts him in a pretty precarious position. He has to challenge for a title, or at least fight a top 3 guy. And while you can look at the situation being, okay, you can fight Rungvisai in Japan, where obviously Rungvisai is going to be the complete underdog, or you try to be fair, let's say even try to get a fight in Macau where it's not going to be completely filled with Thai, not going to be completely filled with Japanese audience. The thing, though, is Inoue is, I think, one of the people that are really starting to test the waters in being a top-level talent, people are already talking pound for pound talent, and try to build him in America rather than what a lot of Japanese fighters have done that have been close to that, which is stay in Japan. For that, yeah, you have to look in the UK for a little bit. You have to look at Jamie McDonald. You may have to look at Solani Tete. The thing is, though, is what's going to be the key for him? Is it I want to build my international audience, or I want to pretty much regain my top spot in Japan? Because our good friend of the program, Nalta, I think, mentioned it, I forgot which hangout it was, that Murata, the middleweight, has overtaken popularity as far as viewing audiences away from Inoue. And we know right behind Inoue, at least in weight class, is Higa. So he may just want to say, no, I'm still the top money draw. I'm still going to be the top money draw here in Japan. I'll do the fight here in Japan. But at the same time, you do have to build your audiences, because as you move up in weight, the top guys are not in Japan anymore. They're either in the US or in Europe. So,
hey, Daniel.
Yeah.
If Yamanaka take care of business on Nery, Yamanaka Inoue.
That's a fight that they wanted for a while.
Yeah.
The first Nery fight threw that for a loop, but I'll leave my opinion on the Nery situation for the preview. But that's a fight that they can do at 118. But if it's for a money fight now, obviously, yeah. Look at McDonald. Look at Tete. Because particularly Tete. Tete is going to give you money, and Tete presents yourself with a guy that's tall, has long reach, and might be a problem for you.
Folks selling wolf tickets on Fighting Tete.
Mm.
They're selling Wolf tickets. They mentioned his name, but do they get in the ring with him? That's
We
just my
have
opinion on that.
we have to see because they can't keep avoiding Tete for long.
Your thoughts on this, Jacob, before we move on to other fights.
I mean, I would like to see a new wave fight. Any of these guys, but there's also a potential scenario that if he's going to move up in weight, to me, Rungvisai is a big super flyweight. So
Yeah,
you
well,
could you could
mention.
make it.
I don't want to interrupt you, Jacob, but you were at the weigh-in. Talk about the situation at the weigh-in. You were telling me that Rungvisai looks like he may have some issues getting down to 115.
I mean, I've heard that it could be a tough cut for him. I mean, to me, he's a big super flyweight. So what I was leading to was that if Inoue is going to move up, Rungvisai could move up, and they could fight each other at that weight, for like kind of like just a super fight. Sorry about that. But I mean, at the weigh-ins, he did look a little drained. But I mean, he did his job and he made weight. And Estrada didn't look that small to him. So I mean, and he's moving up in weight. So that was interesting.
Okay, let's move on to some other fights on Superfly 2. And I'm gonna split this up between everyone because again, having some echo issues. I think it was Gail, and I want to get on her specifically so we won't have any echo issues. Want to talk McWilliams Arroyo, who Gail mentioned, versus Carlos Cuadras. I want to use first Scorsese. Arroyo won by decision. I thought he may not get it because of where he was fighting, but give credit to Arroyo. He did what he had to do. He jumped on Cuadras early. I felt hurt him a couple times with that. And Cuadras, he tried to come back, but Arroyo was too much in the end. Is this a case of Arroyo being that good on the night, or Cuadras, falling off?
I'm gonna go with the second one because Arroyo was pissing me off on the live stream we was doing. I felt he could have knocked the Cuadras out, but it was no body work. He was head hunting repeatedly, and you see Cuadras just. I guess he's good enough to continue to hurt him, but when you're talking about something special, you also know how to finish. And he wouldn't finish them. The man's begging to be finished. I felt this the second time in a row Cuadras has been begging to be finished. So of course I got to say he definitely falling off. And they refused to do it, man. And my man wouldn't put nothing to his body. I had to leave at like the 10th or 11th round. I think the 10th, and I missed what was going on. And I'm like you. I was like, yo, he finna get robbed, and at the end of the day, he's kind of going to deserve it because you see what we at in the sport. These people don't give a damn, man. You win a fight and they tell you 117, one whatever they want to tell you, hey, fuck off, basically. And we know this, the fighters know this. And when you got a guy hurt like that, man, hell, man, there's people that just started watching boxing a year ago to say, hey, you hurt somebody, go to the body. And this dude, a full-grown fighter, not doing it. I just couldn't believe it, man. Maybe he did in the later two rounds that I wasn't around for, but whatever. He got the decision. I do think Cuadras is too much. I mean, too many fights, maybe tough in the roll. He is wide open. He is high volume, herky jerky. That could take a lot out of. You see James Gale kind of fight the same way. They both in the same position, like what, probably about 32 each and about done. So yeah, man, I think Cuadras is finished, and I don't know if Arroyo. I think he can be strong with Kit Kat, and thing is Kit Kat gonna work his body and take his strength. Whereas from what we saw from Arroyo, he ain't gonna do much body work. But if he changes that, man, maybe he got a chance with Kit Kat because Kit Kat's a little bit broken. But I think he won't be fighting Kit Kat. It'll be Estrada in there.
I go to you, Gail. If Rungvisai and Estrada was the fight of the night, the most dominant and arguably the most impressive performance was down in Nietes, just taking apart Reveco. I thought he would win and win rather easily. He did just that. um, stopping him in seventh. He boxed the shoes off. The separation in class was evidence. Boxed his shoes off through six. At the end of six, he hurt him badly. I believe right hand, left hook. Did what a pro is supposed to do. Finished him off in round seven. Um, he got the spotlight fight on HBO that he really craved, and he did what he had to do and impressed. And he had folks wanting to see more of him following his performance. So your thoughts on that? And where do you see him going? Staying at 112, fighting Heater in the position bout, moving up to 115. What's the direction?
Well, Nietes is one of those guys that pulled the trigger when he needed to. You know, when they get their one and only shot, they have got to perform. The pressure's on them, not just to win, but to win in a way that makes fans want to see them again. And Nietes, of everybody, Saturday night did that. You know, he isn't known for his power. Well, geez, you could have surprised all of us there. Really a good performance. You know, a smart, patient, mature, calculated veteran's performance. I think what Nietes will do, you know, he's got the clock ticking on him age-wise. I think he'll take the best possible opportunity offered to him, whether he moves up or stays at weight. I think he knows he's just got to grab the brass ring while he can. And bless him, that's what he needs to do. He's never ducked a fight. So it would be fun to see him, and it would be smart for him to get another fight quickly, no matter who it's with or which division, because his persona is fresh with fans who may not have known much about him before. And for those who always loved the early years of Manny Pacquiao and, you know, want to see another great Filipino fighter, Nietes is certainly not Pacquiao. But, you know, it's fun to see a guy like that perform, and he did a wonderful job. So I hope he is rewarded with a nice little purse and a fight quick, because you know, he didn't have to work all that hard on Saturday.
Indeed. Going to you, Daniel and Jacob combo on this last fight here. Artem Dalakian defeating Brian Viloria for the vacant WBA belts at 112, vacated by Ioka after he decided to retire. I'm watching this fight, fellas, and I'm like, okay, Dalakian, he got the decision. He earned the decision. And even though he beat Viloria, in my opinion, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, given what we saw on the HBO broadcast, I don't know if he deserves mention in that same level. In short, I don't think, even though he's a champion, I wouldn't put him in the class of what we saw at 112 with Nietes, and certainly at 115. So your thoughts?
You were there, Jacob. So I'll go to you first.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a disappointing performance from Brian Hawaiian Punch, but I mean, he just didn't make any adjustments. He just seemed like he was trying to get at him, but what's his name?
Dalakian.
I don't know. Dalakian. He you know what he reminded me of? His style was a lot of like Prince Nazim Hamed.
He a cocky little SOB, ain't he?
No, he's cocky. He's cocky, and he does that thing with his hands down by his waist and kind of like stick his thing out there, and he kind of throws his punches like he's very like he fights very much like him, you know. And you know, he was just kind of, you know, using the ring a lot, and but he was getting off shots, and you know, Viloria couldn't get inside. But then at that point, you know, your team's got to tell you, hey, we got to do something different here. That's why when you go in the ring, you got to have a plan B, because him doing the same old, you know, it just wasn't going to work. And because he couldn't get, you know, close enough to tag him, you know, he basically ran away with it. So, but I don't think that he's going to be. I think he'll get beat by somebody at a higher caliber that's going to be able to kind of figure him out, kind of like Barrera did with Hamed.
Okay, let's move on to one more fight because before we go into previewing what's happening this weekend, kind of the news was really how we began the show with Nery. So I'm gonna put that as the news for this week. Um, Listen, over the weekend, Callum Smith he defeated a guy by the name of Holskin in the second semifinal of the super middleweight tournament. He won by 12 rounds. It was a meh performance. He did what he had to do. He was clearly the better fighter. Okay, he moves on to the final. Well, week prior, we had the first main event of that super middleweight tournament, and I want to talk about that now since we were off last week. George Groves fighting Chris Eubank Jr., I believe, in Manchester. Uh, and I want to go on record and give an apology. Uh, I thought Eubank Jr. had learned something from his loss to Billy Joe Saunders, but given what we saw last week, not last weekend, week before last, he clearly has not. Uh, I feel played. I feel duped. Uh, Even though Groves hurt his shoulder in the last round, he's going to have surgery subsequently. He's looking to delay the final because of that. Um, he showed the lack of class that Eubank Jr. has. And the thing is, he won the fight. I'm going to open up for anybody who wants to comment. Not only did he win the fight, he won the fight and didn't do anything special. Simple game plan, and he stuck to that all night long. He didn't even have to step on the gas. He didn't even have to go past first level here to win this bout, and it was easy work. So again, I feel duped. I apologize. I feel dumb. I feel played. I thought Eubank had learned something, but he's learned nothing. He's going to need a complete deconstruction, a complete deconstruction, a reconstruction of his career if he's going to go anywhere and make a name and win these big fights. What was that from him? And anybody who wants to comment, please do.
Oh, where to begin on this one? Oh, where to begin? Because I think Eubank, there's a couple of observations you can do in Eubank. Number one, I think he bought into his own hype when it came to Groves. He figured probably Groves is going to be pissed off Groves enough. Groves is going to come forward, and he was going to be able to counter. Instead, Groves boxed him, kept him at bay with the jab, and whenever Eubank came in, Groves smarted him. Didn't let him do a lot of work. Like, he did land a few shots here and there, but it didn't compound to anything that Groves was doing as far as distance, as far as ring generalship. And in many ways, I do think, you have to look completely at the people that are around Eubanks, including his father. And you may have to reassess the whole game plan because you build up your son to be this world-class fighter. And whenever the big moment comes, he falls short. Now, what this also does is it does, unfortunately, take some of the luster out of Zurdo's victory over Abraham.
I'm hearing some background. Scorsese, mute your mic, please.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, he, unfortunately, I think that performance that Eubank put against Abraham is negated a little bit of what Zurdo did against Abraham. So it has to be complete. It has to be complete rehaul. I'm not gonna go as far as Nas did. Prince Nasir Hamed went on Sky Sports. I forgot what channel it was. I think it was ITV or Sky Sports, and ethered the living daylights out of Eubank after the fight. Pretty much told him, you should retire. You're not a world beater. You won a belt that you think is a world championship, but it's really not. Ironically enough, from the same sanctioning body that Hamed won in his last fight before he retired. But Eubanks has to look at what he has to change. He may have to completely change the style. As much as I don't think British fans would like to do it, He may even have to get away from his father. Probably get a completely new team and rebuild, because if this is what you're presenting yourself when you have a chance at winning an inaugural tournament, winning, let's not remind you, like the equivalent of $50 million, and you make yourself an actual champion, which opens up the avenue to all the other champions, which, by the way, remember Eubanks did call out Caleb Truax after that performance. He has to he has to completely rehaul. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Because right now, he looks just like a British level fighter, just domestic level at this point.
I'm going to you, Scorsese. You can unmute your mic now. Within Daniel's analysis, he kind of touched on it. The monkey in the room, the elephant in the room, excuse me. That is the corner of Eubank. What disappointed me, I was just as disappointed in the corner work or lack thereof in between rounds as I was with Eubank and the way he looked in the ring. No direction, no plan B. Eubank Sr., that fight kind of exposed him as well, because he was doing a lot of the talking in the corner in between rounds. And to Daniel's point, excuse me, I'll follow up on what Daniel was intimating at. Does Eubanks Jr. need to say adios to his dad in terms of a trainer?
I'm gonna accept Eubank for who he is. He started late. If for most people, they might say, a lot of guys get in it, they gotta get in it. They need something in the way out. He went away. I'm just going to be honest with you. Maybe he is what he is, and it's too late. So. And we ain't seen him do nothing but lose to two guys that can outbox him. Everybody can, say if he was in the ring with a Chudinov, who the guy that Groves knocked out and standing right in there with him. Maybe they need to make his matches better. Hold 1 second.
Wow.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, he everybody's not a boxer. Everybody can't move laterally. Maybe you saw what happened with the guy he fought a fight ago broke James DeGale's mouth, was what they were trying to say. Maybe it was to save face from Badu Jack getting credit for doing it. But he said it happened in sparring, and the guy that supposedly did it, you saw Eubank put hands on him. At some point, I'm just accepting a B-level fighter for the B-level fighter he is. And maybe one day it might be an A-level pressure fighter that Eubank gets in there with, and he stands in the pocket with him and he claps him up, because that's what he needs. He doesn't need anybody who's gonna feint him and make him think. Some of these guys just who they are, and that's what I'm gonna say about Eubank. I give Groves a lot of credit. I give Eubank a lot of credit for the effort too, because I feel like some of these World Boxing Super Series fights. Well, I would say Dorticos. They kind of lost. They both lost, but I felt like Eubank went a little harder for his. He adjusted. Not really adjusted. Hell, he just went harder. Dorticos looked soft in the fight. Looked like he was wanting to be pushed around and see how long his chin can maintain and get credit for taking punishment. Eubank went for it. Groves didn't leave out of here feeling like a new man. He left with a black eye, hurt shoulder, and all that. So. Yeah, like he ain't gonna be. I never was expecting him to be a ATG or a Hall of Famer. He is who he is, and hey, I don't care who in the corner. Just I don't care to see him fighting boxers no more. That's what they need to change matchmaking, because the boxing, you can't do that. People just gonna outbox the kid.
I expect him to be an ATG either, but I expect him to show some improvement from what I saw in his loss to Billy Joe Saunders a few years ago. And I didn't get that. I'll go to you, Gail, and then finally you, Jacob. Your thoughts on what went down week prior with Eubank Jr. and Groves.
Well, Groves is maximizing his skills, and Eubank Jr. is not, and that's the difference. Groves put on a great performance. Groves is never going to be a big razzle-dazzle knockout artist, but Groves puts in the work and the effort, and it shows. Eubank Jr. needs to get away from his father He needs a fresh approach, a change of scene. I don't know where. Have him come out to LA. Have him come out to Vegas. Just somewhere else where he can see that there's more beyond the little world with his father than he knows. And I think it would do him a world of good. You know, I don't care how close you are to your dad. When your dad is your boss, your dad is your mentor, your trainer, your everything wrapped up in one, you know, it's limiting. No matter how good one person is, you need more input than that. And sometimes trainers just run out of steam with their athletes. And it's no slam on them. You just need somebody to look at you fresh, to look at you without the relationship baggage, the emotional baggage. And any trainer and athlete has that after a while. But let's add in the fact that Eubank's trainer is his father. And his father's just, you know, a little batshit crazy to boot. So I don't think his dad is doing him any favors at this point. And if he really wants him to succeed, let us hope to God, you know, he doesn't punish his son for it emotionally, you know, within the family. And he agrees, listen, you know, I'm going to hand you off with love in my heart and hope for your success to someone else. Maybe he stays in the UK and he just moves. But he needs a change of scene, and fast, because we all know it's a very, very short list of guys whose fathers were professionals who did as well or better than their fathers. It's very, very rare, and for a reason.
First of all, I want to give acknowledge to Anthony Saldana for joining us join us on the live show in the chat, commenting about he believes that there will be a rematch on in September, and he's also talking about 360 promotions, which is a good look. I'll go to you, Jacob. Before we move on to preview what's happening this weekend, we've got a lot of fights coming up. Your thoughts on Rose Eubank Jr.?
I'm in the same camp as you, Mike. I thought I got a little duped. You know, I thought Eubanks was I was picking him, and probably much to the dismay of Gus, who did a video, and he pretty much said that, you know, played it how it was going to play out. But I thought he was going to do something, and, you know, he didn't. And, you know, he just, to a point that Gail just made, you know, sometimes these expectations of an athlete, you know, an athlete's, a father athlete that's, you know, had great days, passed down to the child, it doesn't always work out like that, you know. It's just not, you know, I know everybody wants to think, you know, Michael Jordan's kids are going to be, you know, just like him or, you know, whatever, but it doesn't always translate. So I think it's pretty obvious that he needs to change trainers and try something different, because what they're doing isn't working. And it showed in between rounds in the fight. He looked frustrated, he looked lost, and, you know, hats off to Groves, you know, because I know he injured himself, and I believe he just had surgery, and he's asking for a delay, but you know, he got the job done.
Indeed. So I would just wanted to touch in on that because, like I said, we were off last week. What's this in the chat, Daniel, about news regarding Frampton?
Oh no, I covered it on my show yesterday with John Francis. Apparently, the reason that Frampton left Brian McGuigan involves a tax bill that he got presented with £397,000 that he owed from a company that he was named in charge of by McGuigan.
Oh, 397. That's over $500,000 US. Ooh.
Yeah. That's a lot. And apparently he got presented to it when his comeback fight after the loss to Santa Cruz, when that fell through.
Oh, wow. I didn't know. So yeah, that's true. Yeah. That explains a lot. Why there's been such a kind of why his career has gotten so stagnant. Yeah, you have that put on you. You gonna be big mad.
Yeah, and McGuigan's still suing him. He's still suing him for breach of contract.
Wow. Wow. So until he gets that situation resolved, yeah, he got to fight that first before he thinks about boxing.
Yep.
So yeah, thanks for that bit of news. I did not know. I did not know that regarding Carl Frampton. But yeah, let's get into this to these previews of these fights. I may split some fights up because, as I said, there's a lot of fights happening this weekend. Look, we begin the show talking about the breaking news regarding Luis Nery, his failed weigh-in with Yamanaka. We're going to go into this fight now. I'm going to open it up just for everybody. Everybody can comment on it. Look, given the fact that he looks so drained at the weigh-in overnight, late last night, early this morning, depending on what part of the country he was from, again, how does this impact the fight? For me, going in, I thought Nery would beat him again. I'm not so sure now because he was so messed up in the weigh-in. They're going through with the fight anyway. I just don't know how Nery can recover. I mean, he looked like he wanted to go to sleep. He looked like he wanted to go to sleep all that way in. He was out of it, sitting there. He couldn't even drink the Gatorade that they was giving him. He was that tired. So I'm gonna open up for anybody who wants to comment, please. Now that we can preview this fight, your thoughts. Did it take too much out of Nery for him coming into the fights, which is going to happen later on tonight, early Thursday morning U.S. time?
As I said earlier, when you're a professional athlete, you have a responsibility far beyond yourself. And Nery, for whatever reason, blew it. So he was on thin ice to begin with because of his issues. Obviously, blowing through the weight also starts to make us suspicious in looking back, at being popped for various performance-enhancing substances. Everyone was inclined to give him a pass because there have been issues on and off and on and off with Mexican fighters. But then you see this. What could you possibly think? You just got to be mad and disgusted about the whole thing. And, I see Yamanaka's point in saying, listen, he looked that bad. So what if he's a few pounds bigger than me? He looks like I could take him. Why not? I can't, he lost the title. How much worse can it be? I understand the decision for him to go forward with the fight. Man, if I'm Nery, or his camp, I can only imagine the penalty for pulling out of the fight at this point must be far worse than taking the L. That's the only thing I can think. I cannot possibly imagine him recovering to any extent to win. I really can't. He looked that bad.
I'm going to you, Scorsese. Beforehand, I'm going to get real nerdy and go way, way back. Well, not way, way back. Around 20 years ago. This reminds me of Yoshiro Tatsuyoshi when he won the bantamweight title for the third and final time. He fought a guy from Thailand, also very young, highly thought of. His name escapes me right now. I can't remember his name. I'll look it up shortly. But he was young like Nery. He was highly regarded like Nery. And coming into that fight with Tatsuyoshi, he struggled mightily to make weight like Luis Nery did. He ended up getting down to 118, but it showed in the fight he didn't have this usual snap that you saw in previous bouts. Tatsuyoshi took advantage, went to his body early, and eventually stopped him. I use that as an example to set forth a scenario tomorrow. Could we see the same thing where Nery, he was so drained, he was so out of it, that if Yamanaka comes in, he fights him, and if he focuses on the body, it's not going to matter. He's going to wear Nery out if he attacks that body, given the situation with Nery being so weight drained overnight. Mute your mic, Scorsese.
Say the final question again. The last part of the question again.
I
It
was
broke
set,
out.
I was setting up a scenario with a fight in the past where a guy came in. The champion was so highly regarded, like Nery, but he had struggled mightily to get down to the weight. This fighter made weight, but he was out of. He didn't have his usual snap in the ring, and the ex-champion took advantage and beat him, stopped him, focusing on body shots. Could we see a similar scenario with Yamanaka Nery too?
Man, the guy should. The guy's a skeleton. He's up. The weigh in is standing on the scale with his hands up in the air, and that even looked like it's taking something out of him. Look, it's a lot of signs going on these days, and these guys make some good money. Now to say he might be making about 200,000, 200,000 to 100,000, somewhere in there. That's certain money can get you certain things. You've seen guys go from looking sick to great the next night, or good enough. That's all you got to be in boxing. Good enough the next night to get the fight. But I'm going to just say for now, I don't think he will be, and I think Yamanaka, if he doesn't do what I'm about to say here, and what you mentioned a minute ago, he got to be in question. His corner, his game planning, all that got to be in question. And himself, if you ain't taking out this man's body, when you got people in your home, he come to your home country and they taking pictures of him struggling with weight, sitting in the corner looking depleted, looking like he just did a P90X every tape they ever let out. And and if you don't take advantage of that by throwing that left hand in his body and every other hand you got in his damn body too, and getting him out the ring, man, there's gonna be a lot of questions for me. I'm not gonna take it easy because this dude is done. You went ahead with the fight, the weight. That could, if I didn't see the video, I would say, you know what, maybe he blew off weight just to be a little more healthy. But you saw the video, he looked like shit even at that weight. So Yamanaka got to be the favorite. He don't get it done. It's something to talk about.
Now, the Thai fighter I was referring to was a guy by the name of Sinwacha, who was, like I said, highly regarded, 20 years old. Nery, I believe, was 22, 23, but Sinwacha was 20 years old at the time when he fought Tatsuyoshi back in November '97. Everybody thought he was just going to blow Tatsuyoshi, who was thought as being aged, had issues with his eyes. They thought he was going to blow Tatsuyoshi out the water going to Japan. And Tatsuyoshi scored the upset when Singwacha had major issues getting down to weight. He made the weight, but it showed in the fight, and Tatsuyoshi went to town on his body and stopped him, I want to believe, in round 7. I'll go to you, Daniel and Jacob. Could you see a similar scenario here? In short, your previews of what could happen tomorrow night.
Well, if you're looking academically and looking at that video, Nery, I've been looking at that video constantly now. It should happen. Yamanaka should just target the body throughout and get the revenge fight. There's a problem though because Yamanaka's anger might get the best of him, and now Luis Nery really doesn't have anything to lose. There's few things that are as dangerous in life as a person that has nothing to lose. So Yamanaka has to be smart. He has to box really well. He has to target the body, but don't let his anger get the better of him, because if it does, it gives Nery the chance to just land a good counter, show that he's still the heavier puncher, and maybe win the fight. I still have him winning, because I do think somewhere along the line, Yamanaka may make a mistake. He may let his anger get the best of him, and it might give Nery an opening. But if this fight goes the distance, oh no, that's gonna be pure Yamanaka all over. It's in Japan. So.
For me, Jacob, the best chance for Nery is to go balls for the wall early, where he has his most strength. If this fight goes past 6 or 8 rounds, he's in trouble, because he's not going to have the stamina. There's no way he can recover, given what we saw. There's no way he can recover to go 12 rounds. Your thoughts?
I'm picking Nery in this fight. As bad as he looked at the weigh-in, he's got a night to get it together. And, what he was able to do in the first fight, he'll be the heavier guy, so his punches should have a little bit more on him, and he knows he could hurt him. So he might just go balls to the wall early and try to get him out of there. And then, to your point, if it does go later in the fight, maybe Yamanaka stops him. But I'm going with Nery.
Okay. I'm a switch. I'm thinking Nery. I was thinking Nery. But that weigh in, that was disturbing. It was disturbing. I mean, when you're so tired that you can't even drink Gatorade, y'all. He couldn't drink Gatorade. They gave him Gatorade as he was sitting down afterwards. He just basically folded over, laid down on his side. He couldn't even drink it.
Maybe he's sponsored by Powerade. We don't know.
Gatorade, Powerade, whatever. He couldn't even drink his drink. He was that done. And I just can't see him recovering.
Yeah, you do something like that, all the fans drink the haterade. So he's just dead. He exactly right. As said earlier, he has to give it all he's got early and just cross his fingers and hope he scores a lucky shot. Otherwise, Yamanaka works him to the body a few rounds and he's done.
Yeah, that's his only chance.
Put him out of his misery, and you know what? We'll never hear from him again north of the border. Never.
Let's move on. We talked about that fight, but really the main event of, if you will, over the weekend, long anticipated fight between Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz is happening this weekend on Showtime. WBC heavyweight title, Wilder's belt on the line. Again, I'm just going to open up round robin here for me. This fight is not going the distance. I ain't gonna lie, I'm biased here. I want Wilder to win because I want to see Wilder and Joshua, but I can understand folks who believe that Luis Ortiz will not only win, but not Wilder. You know what out. I just want the fight happen. I'm just glad the fight is happening. Excuse me. I think it's gonna be anxiety up until the end. It's going to be tense up until the end. And again, whoever wins, I think they're going to win by knockout. Your thoughts?
Stop.
I'll go then.
Go then. Whatever you're going at the home life, mute your mic, Scorsese. Go ahead, Jacob.
I mean, I hope this fight happens. I mean, there's still a few more days for Luis Ortiz to fuck it up. So
not this time, Jacob. Not this time.
Hey, never say never, man. You would have thought after getting popped that his team would have been on their P's and Q's, but they didn't. They weren't. So, although I have heard that he's been tested numerous times leading up to the fight, so hopefully nothing comes out. But I'm gonna go with Ortiz in this fight. I still think that it to me, if Wilder can win impressively, then I'll give him his credit because Ortiz to me is a live top heavyweight. A lot of the people that Wilder fought before, to me, hasn't been like the top of the echelon of the heavyweight division. As much as I would love to see a Wilder Joshua fight, I just think that Ortiz technically, like as far as technical skills, is better in that area. I think Wilder, of course, has the punch, the power, but he can get a little wild and expose himself sometimes. And against a technical fighter like Ortiz, kind of like how he did to Jennings, he looked for his openings and he was able to, and I think Jennings is a really good heavyweight. But the other thing with Wilder too is, maybe a lot of people are looking at that Stavern victory as, because he blasted him out, but Stavern was, way past his prime in my opinion, and shouldn't even be in the ring that night. So he's going to be ultra confident, and he tends to kind of give away a lot of the early rounds, and then his that right hand ends up landing at some point. But we'll see if Ortiz can take a punch. But like I said, I just think the technical aspects of the skills are going to win out here over the power.
Daniel, Gale, and Scorsese, your thoughts on this fight?
Well, the way, luckily, nothing has come up to screw up this fight yet. I'm glad, but I look in this fight and I said, who needs it more? In the end, and while the answer may be, a lot of people will say Ortiz because it's his first legitimate title shot. He's been screwed over before by the WBA when it came to winning the full belt there. I do think, unfortunately, Deontay Wilder actually needs it more because it's in a position where he's damned if he wins and damned if he's not. He loses, and if he gets knocked out, all the people come out. Oh, he was a hater. He only won against bombs. And like Dudu Brown mentioned, like the skinny legs, the chicken legs finally caught to him. If he wins, I've already seen people saying, well, if he wins, Ortiz is 50 years old. That's not a victory. Wilder technically needs this more because Ortiz has, even though the age jokes aside, is the best fighter he is fighting in his career. Both in terms of technical prowess and probably punching power too. So I see Wilder winning this fight because it happened in the first stubborn fight, and it may happen again. Wilder, when it presented with these situations, tends to show the best of him. In the first fight with Stubborn, when people thought he was just going to swing wildly, he maintained the distance and kept the jab at bay. He might have to do the same thing with Ortiz, even though Ortiz could probably move a lot better. But he mainly had to show discipline. And as much as we can talk about it, Ortiz can easily be winning the fight 8-9 rounds clean in a row. Wilder has, in that right hand, the best eraser in the sport. And it only takes one time to land, and that one time may give him that victory.
Gail, Scorsese, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely right. Whose chin can hold up to whose punch? Because neither of them are defensively skilled. They're going to come at each other. If Wilder is smart enough to work behind his jab until he's settled in for a few rounds and figures out where his openings are, I don't think Ortiz is going to be able to get to him, to even test him. So as long as Wilder stays disciplined, that's not a given, especially if he's being egged on by the crowd. Don't know. There's been a lot of trash talk, a lot of bad blood, dust ups, and sometimes that emotional stuff can throw you off your game plan. If he sticks to a plan, settles in, isn't so worried about must have a first round knockout to wow everybody, he's much better off staying patient. He's much better off staying in there and fighting a little bit like Nietes did on Saturday. Nietes could have blown his opponent out pretty quickly, but he took his time. He gauged him. He got a good sense of him. He didn't go after him too quickly, but when he did, boom, he had all the knowledge he needed to take care of business. If Wilder could take that approach, I think he'd have a very easy time of it. I'm not sure he's disciplined enough to do that. And I think that's the real question this weekend. Can he fight that kind of fight? Because I think he could find several ways to win against Ortiz, but going forward from here, depending on who he gets matched with, he won't have that luxury of a guy who's a little slower and maybe a lot older, rustier than he is. I don't think he's going to get much of that chance anymore. So he needs to use this opportunity as a dress rehearsal for what's to come.
Your thoughts, Scorsese?
Yeah, like I said earlier, it's a fact. Luis Ortiz is old, but the question is, what the fuck is Wilder gonna do about it? That's the question, you know. He ain't gonna get you on the ropes and stop and think, well, I'm 40, I shouldn't hit you. No, he's gonna do. He'll beat everybody that Wilder's beat, and we saw Wilder beat everybody that he beat, and I definitely don't think any of them would swell Luis Ortiz's eye up or wobble him in front of his hometown crowd. Wilder got a hell of an opponent on his hand. Maybe the fight could have happened 2, 3 years ago, but so what? Well, not so what, but hell, it's here today. Better late than never, right? Um, Especially when it comes about. I think the tape says Luis Ortiz. The punching I always can say Wilder. The chin of Wilder could say Luis by knockout. It's a lot of things, a lot of variables, a lot about the fight I like. A lot of questions, and that's what make the fight good. And I think for both men, this to me, both time they stepped up. This is the only time either one has gotten to step up. See what we get, man. Yeah. Best fight, best US heavyweight fight. I don't know how long. That's definitely a fact to me.
Let's move on. We talk about a little bit about Dirrell and Uzcategui, but that fight is pretty mad to me. We may recap it next week, so I'm gonna leave that alone for now. Want to move on to the fights on HBO, Showtime, and HBO competing. Showtime got Wilder, Ortiz. Um, HBO has Kovalev. He's fighting Mikhalkin. Excuse me, I pronounced his name wrong. Is also Dmitry Bivol fighting Sullivan Barrera on the undercard. Both of these fights, two of these, they're both happening in New York City, so it's like wow. I'm going to you, Gail, first. Now, for full disclosure here, you are doing media relations work for main events for Kovalev, as well as Bivol, that entire card. I don't know if I'm comfortable really asking you your prediction on the fight, so I'm not going to do it now. I'm not going to put you in that precarious situation. But what I will ask you about the lead up for the fight from a media perspective, since you've been doing media work for main events. Get some details on that, please.
Well, we have 2 light heavyweight fights, 2 world title fights. Kovalev is defending the WBO belt. He won back against Igor, and you got it very close. Igor Mikhalkin. Nobody knew how to say it here either until we were told how. Mikhalkin seems to have come out of nowhere, but he is an undefeated Russian light heavyweight of basically Kovalev's age. All of his fights have been in Russia. He is from Ichuk, East Siberia. That's a fairly large city, actually, of 600,000 on Lake Baikal, just a few hundred miles north of the Mongolian border. But it's a very beautiful city, forested, high-altitude city. And Mikhalkin and Kovalev were amateurs together as teenagers, so they know each other. And that's how he came to light and came in to do this fight. Mikhalkin trains in Germany, although he does still live and fight in Russia. And I will just say on first impressions, he is one serious, hard-looking, tough MF. Pretty much. And I think he's a very technical fighter. He is not a knockout artist. He's a guy who is, got staying power and stamina. That's a good test for Kovalev. And I like what Kovalev's attitude is and what he has to say. He says, hey, listen, this is a guy that maybe has hoped for a shot like this his whole life. His whole life, he gets this chance. He would be foolish not to give it everything he's got. And a guy like that's dangerous. He may never get another chance. Ever. One shot, lose yourself. So Kovalev says, listen, a guy like that is dangerous because he's got nothing to lose. So they've definitely taken the fight seriously. Now, what is also funny was at today's final media conference at Madison Square Garden, Kovalev said, hey, yeah, we're friends, and good friends have the ability to beat on each other really hard and then say no hard feelings afterwards. He said, so, that's kind of where we're at. We like each other, we know each other, but hey, we're gonna really go after each other. So I do think it will be probably more competitive than people think. Frankly, the more interesting fight, and I don't think anybody would fault me for saying this, the more interesting fight is the co-main event, getting to see Dmitry Bivol close against Sullivan Barrera. There's a lot of variables in that one. I think anybody who could make a prediction on that fight, it's more of a coin toss. But we have not seen a lot of Barrera. He's been training in Miami. He's really decided he performs best when he stays home. He likes the atmosphere. He likes the home cooking. He's far more at home there with Derek Santos. So I haven't seen a lot of him. Bivol I've seen now a lot because he has been training at the Legends Gym in Southern California in Norwalk. And his manager is in Carson. So he has really already started to make a bit of a home in LA. And I have been very impressed. I've been very impressed not only with his demeanor in the ring, but this is a guy who really is paying a lot of attention to the fans, to communicating. He's learned English at warp speed. I don't know how the hell he's done it. He's essentially learned enough English to do interviews in a matter of months, if not weeks. And I mean more than yes and no. So he is working very hard on not only his hard skills in the ring, but all the soft skills that go around it. And, in today's world, that's really important. So what's interesting is here we've got these two cards, and you've got the one in Brooklyn and you've got the one here in the Garden, two different audiences, and tickets, frankly, for the one here, with all the Russians on TV, tickets have sold extremely well. What's also nice is something that Main Events does for virtually all their fights. They load up the undercard with regional guys who all have fans who love to come see them. So you get to see the Franco Arzas, you get to see the up-and-coming kids like LaShawn Rodriguez and Ishmael Villarreal. To me, one of the very most interesting fights on the card, not a TV fight, is Vaughn Alexander. Vaughn Alexander is the older brother of Delvin Alexander. And Vaughn had a very, very promising career, was, I think, either 7-0 and 9-0, and got a chance to fight at Madison Square Garden. And that was in 2004, I believe. And then, unfortunately, Vaughn went to prison for 11 years. He's come back out, restarted his career at age 30. He's 11-0. And, he has picked up the pieces. He's moving on. He's very serious about what he's doing. And I am very intrigued to see what he has to offer on Saturday. That's a hell of a story. He's back at Madison Square Garden 14 years after he first showed up here.
Wow.
Yeah. Quite a redemption story if he can, put it back together. And he seems to have. So, we just saw his brother fighting Victor Ortiz and get robbed, in my opinion, of the decision. So let's see how his brother does on this card. We're also going to see a heavyweight out of the area. He's originally from Baltimore. He moved up to New Haven, Connecticut, and he was actually a scholarship NCAA basketball player for the University of New Haven. And he's a big dude. He's a big-ass dude. He's 6'6", and he's bulky. And he thought, you know what? I'm going to destroy my knees if I try to play professional basketball. And he only got some minor professional offers. So he thought, screw it. I'm going to take up boxing. After he got his college degree, mind you. So his name is Cassius Chaney. And Cassius was one of Tyson Fury's sparring partners before he fought Klitschko. Very interesting dude. He's gotten a lot of sparring and has finally decided, I need to focus on my own deal and my own career versus making money as a sparring partner. So he's undefeated. He moved back to his hometown of Baltimore, and he has moved back in and is training with Calvin Hill. And for those of you who know who Calvin Hill is, he is the trainer who inspired the character Cuddy on The Wire. He's the real guy. And he's still around, and
Cuddy.
he's changed. Cuddy, yep. And he's changing. I always want to say Curry for some reason. Maybe I'm thinking about food. So Cuddy, yeah. So Calvin Hill's his trainer, and Cassius is a damn good time to talk to. Here's a guy who's got his business sports management college degree, and he's this big heavyweight. Now, a lot of people remember him because he's got kind of a wild hairdo. He wears his hair natural and it kind of sticks straight up. So he's got like a lot of hair in the ring. So if you're 6'6" and you got about 5 more inches on top, that's a big dude. But he's very entertaining, and I'm curious to see if he'll make a big splash. This is a very, very good opportunity for him.
I mean, again, like I said, I felt uncomfortable. Mute your mic here.
Mm-hmm.
I felt uncomfortable asking Gail like her official prediction because she's so closely tied to the fight and working for Main Events, who hired her to do media work for this fight. But I hope you enjoyed the little bit of a backstory in terms of the lead up to the fight, and I want to thank her for that. I'll go around to the fellas here, get your predictions on this fight, your breakdown of Kovalev and his opponent. Again, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his name because I know I'll get it wrong. As well as Bivol and Sullivan Barrera, and anybody who wants to comment, please, the mic is yours.
Igor Mikhalkin is easy to say. That's one of the easier ones I felt. I think I was doing that right from the first time I saw it, but TBR, I think it's TBRB. Let me make sure I'm saying that right. TBRB, right? They got him rated top 10, and he did beat somebody recently. He only lost once. And the guy he lost to got KO'd by Cleverly and lost to some more people. I forgot. But like I said, he got 9 knockouts. He's finna get whooped. Kovalev's finna run through him, and I can say what I want about Kovalev. I think some things about him, but what I must say is he's entertaining to watch. He's mean as hell in the ring, and he gonna do this though. And what Kathy Duva said something about anytime he's ready for the winner of the undercard, and that is the show on that show. Like Bivol Barrera, that's the show. That's what I'm interested in. If I happen to miss Kovalev Saturday night, I wouldn't be upset with myself, but I'm not missing that undercard. I think it's a coming out party for Bivol. Or either way, the light heavyweight division gets stronger. With that, whoever wins, I think Bivol puts it in better hand because he's a little bit younger, and you haven't seen him lose. You haven't seen him on the canvas repeatedly with like Barrera. It'll be some heat behind him. So I don't really know right now. He is an offensive juggernaut, move real good, throw tons of punches, and I don't know yet. We'll see what he can do to Barrera and see where it comes out.
I agree with you. For me, in terms of Kovalev, look, Mikhalkin, excuse me. He's a decent fighter, but I think Kovalev is the better boxer. He's the more skilled guy. He may be hungry, but because Kovalev is a better skilled guy from a technical standpoint and he hits hard, he's going to beat this guy. It may not be spectacular, but it's going to be a workmanlike performance. He's going to eventually break this guy down. Bivol Barrera, that's a good one. I'm with you, Scorsese. I really want to see that fight. Bivol has the obvious showcasing talent, but Barrera, he's that solid dude. Yeah, he gets hurt early, but he gets up and he does work over the second half of a fight, and he can really box. So yeah, that's closer to a 50-50 fight. I know people will look at Bivol and see his obvious talent and give him the advantage. But for me, Barrera, he's a guy who's going to be right there. He's going to be right there. And if he can take the power early, he can pull this upset off. Matter of fact, this is so close to me, I'm not really one to call it. This is one I'm not going to call. I'm just going to enjoy the fight for what it is. I'll go to you, Daniel and Jacob. Your thoughts on these two fights?
This is going to be entertaining now. When it comes to Kovalev and Igor, I'm just going to go by his first name, Igor. This is going to be a cakewalk for Kovalev. It's true. Like Igor lost only one fight, but he only has 9 knockouts. So he's not a guy that's going to come in and try to hurt you early. And Kovalev, when he gets a mean chip on his shoulder, he's going to deliver. And he's right now probably in the crusade to get all the belts that he lost to Andre Ward back. So I expect him to blitz through it. The undercard obviously is the main attraction, though. And one thing I'll say, in 2017, because of the circumstances how he got the title and how he was speaking, even though he had it, I had Bivol was more of a prospect, my prospect of the year in 2017. Even though by the end of the year he was a full-fledged champion. He definitely has a good solid foundation. He has great power. And him and Barrera have, at least record-wise, pretty similar amateur backgrounds. To me, though, I think Sullivan and Barrera might pull this off. Even though, like, the fights that I mentioned, the fights that he did win recently against Shabransky and Joe Smith Jr., obviously defense wasn't a factor for either Shabransky or Joe Smith against a guy like Barrera. And Bivol will present him that. I do think, though, that just mainly Bivol's mindset might get the better of him in that aspect. When he kept, it's something about when the guy kept saying, "I'm not ready." I said, "I'm not really ready." And you can't do that against a guy like Barrera who has been waiting for his shot. And it's not probably going to take it. So I have Barrera winning this fight. Like, Bivol has obvious talent. But that mindset that he had, that he was saying as late as, like, I think October or November 2017, it has me think he may not be mentally fully ready for the fight that's coming.
Yeah, it's never good when you hear a fighter kind of suggest that he doesn't have full confidence in himself. That's not good. Even one with the obvious talent of Dmitry Bivol, who Scorsese alluded to. He has power. He can move on his feet really well. It's not just his punch; it's the fact that he got good hand speed. I think you called him an offensive juggernaut, Scorsese. So in that regard, he's very, very good. But there's still questions in the air for him from a mental standpoint, and he hasn't been a guy with the experience and toughness of Sullivan Barrera. That's why it's such a close call for me. It's why I really can't make a true outright prediction. I'll go to you, Jacob. Your thoughts on these two fights?
With the Kovalev fight, I think he is going to just pretty much run through him. The thing with Kovalev is that you got to get him to either respect your power and be able to take his punches, or you got to be able to box, intelligently and keep him off you, which I don't think that, even though I don't know that much about his opponent, I don't think that there's much he's going to be able to do there. And the real fight that, I agree with everybody is the Bivol versus Barrera fight. It's an interesting fight because Barrera, in his last 5 fights, he's been down early, either in the first round, second round, or third round, and 4 of those 5 fights. Granted, it's been against, Joe Smith Jr., Andre Ward, Shabransky's, and Valera. But, he has the ability to basically, recover from that and then start to really, put on his skills. Bivol, to me, is just, I think maybe it might be a little too early for him in the sense that I don't know that he's been tested. And so he does have that power thing, but I think, even for Sullivan being down as many times as he has, he's shown that, he can get up and finish the fight and win the fight. So, with the exception of the Ward fight. So, I think Barrera will, maybe something early happens, but he eases into it, and then, he just starts to box Bivol and wins a comfortable decision.
Kell Brook is also fighting this weekend, fighting a guy by the name of Repchenko. I mean, listen, on paper, Brook should win his cutback fight, but I'm gonna hold off talking about that because there's such an unknown factor here, given the situation of his eyes. Fracture orbital bone in one eye against Golovkin. He comes back, fights Errol Spence, title defense. He loses it in large part because he broke the orbital bone in the other eye. So 2 consecutive eye surgeries, back-to-back fights. We don't know much about him, so I want to hold off on that fight and discuss it on the next episode. And with that being said, I think we're going to start shutting things down here. Go around the panel here, around the hangout. Begin the show starting ladies first. We're going to end the show starting ladies first. Gail from Communities Digital News, who's on the East Coast right now, feeling some of that cold weather, as well as the time difference. For those who want to talk science and anything else, let the folks know where they can find you.
Oh yeah, this California girl, man. I am in hip deep, man. I'm in the deep waters. I'm in the deep East Coast waters. But it's been very nice so far. I think we have storms moving in. The day of the weigh-in should be rather interesting. Thank you for letting me talk from my little vantage point, sitting here on the main events stool. And, you know, we got a lot of great stuff to see this weekend. It's all good for everybody. I am normally at Communities Digital News, which is COM, C-O-M-M, Digi, D-I-G-I, News, comdiginews.com.
I see Scorsese, he had to dip out early. I'll give his information for those who want to talk boxing or anything else with him. You can check him out on YouTube, G Plus at Low Place, hashtag MLPF. If you want to check him out on Twitter, you can follow him on Twitter at My Low Place, at MYLOWPLACE. So there you go. If you want to check out information or check out his show, his channel on G Plus YouTube. Go to Daniel from the Inscriber for those who want to talk the boxing. For those who want to check him out on Twitter, I'm clapping back at folks who are out of pocket. For those who want to talk the NBA, the Miami Heat in particular, let the folks know where they can hit you up.
Yes, folks, you can find me on Twitter at Rawkus99, RAWKUZ99. And obviously, like I said, I do a show. It's an option now up on the 4boxingnews.com website. Where me, Jerome Francis, 4boxings.com, we host a show. We did one yesterday. It's probably going to be up tonight, if not up already. Where we talk the best things coming up in the sport. We covered a lot of ground as well. And good luck, because it's gonna get ready running. The next 2 or 3 months, there's barely weekend off.
You're right about that, indeed. And last but not least, certainly not least, Jacob from Jab Hook. For those who want to talk the sweet science, for those who want to talk movies, let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, thanks, Mike, for having me on the show. And as always, and to the panel, everybody out there, and then the regular listeners, and, plug for the show, give it a like, subscribe, tell your friends, help them out. But, I can be found at Twitter, JRATM23. And actually, just on on Saturday, the same day as Fight Day, I was on a movie podcast that I guest on every now and then, Wrong Reel. It's James Colbrack, or James Hancock's podcast. So I was on there with a couple people. So if you want to talk movies or boxing, you find me at Twitter.
Indeed. And as Jacob said, if you like what you've heard, click that subscribe button. For those who are watching us live or those who are watching us on YouTube, hit that like button. Share what you heard. Check us out on iTunes. Leave a review. If it's 5-star, I'll read it on the show. Check us out on SoundCloud. I would love to hear some comments on there as well. For those who want to talk the sweet science, for those who want to talk music, for those who want to talk fitness, for me, you know what it is. Brother JR on Twitter, Brother JR at Brother JR76. As I stated to begin the show, if you want to check out anything regarding Pound for Pound Boxing Report, blog page is the place to go to. P4P Boxing Report. www.wordpress.com is the link. Check the rival page. You'll find links to the channels and pages on Facebook, G+, YouTube, Tumblr, Twitter, as well as where to listen to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher Radio, Player FM, as well as Mixcloud on the next episode. We will do a recap of Nery Yamanaka 2. The fight is happening tomorrow morning U.S. time. Do a recap of Wilder Ortiz. Do a recap of Kovalev, Mikhalkin. We will also talk Dirrell and Uzcategui. That rematch, didn't talk about it here because I wanted to get it under the 2-hour time lot. We will do a recap of Bivol and Barrera. We'll do a recap of Kell Brook and his comeback fights. And we would do a preview of fights happen. Oscar Valdez, Scott Quick, very good fight at featherweight. That fight is going to happen March 10th in Carson, California, on ESPN, as well as Mikey Garcia, Sergey Limpinas. They're finally fighting. Garcia going for a belt at 140 pounds. Rancis Bartholomew, he's going to be fighting on that undercard. Richard Comey is going to be fighting on that undercard as well. So we're going to talk about all that and much more. So yeah, for Gail from Communities Digital News, for Scorsese, from Daniel from the Inscriber, Jacob from Jab Hook. This has been episode 199. Next episode, episode 200. So I'm your host, Michael. Episode 199 of Pound for Pound Box Report. We will see you guys next time. Have a good evening. Good night.
See you next time.
Good night.